Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, I'm Cahyo, and I'm here with ZAYYANA. We're from Group 3, and we're going to talk about subjective and objective testing. But before that, the thing that must be remembered is subjective and objective are terms used to refer the scoring process of the test, not the test itself. Why? Because the test itself designed by the subjective preference of the teachers and answered by the subjective response of the students. So starting from now, if we talk about the subjective and objective testing, we talk about the scoring process of the test, which attempts to give same marks no matter who or what the scorers are. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Now, as you can see here, the slides is talk about the difference between subjective and objective. First, in terms of the scale, the objective ones is mostly related in seeking the uh, is is mostly related in seeking certain language skills or elements. So it's not directly involve the four skills of language, but it's the constructions of the those language such as grammar, pronunciations, and others. While for the subjective test, the scale is focusing on the communicative skills of the students, which mostly related to the four skills of language, that is speaking, listening, writing, and reading. And then in terms of reliability, the objective task is is easier. The reliability in objective task is easier to achieve since the answers are obvious. The correct answer is only one in each items, so that's make the reliability are consistent. Well, for the subjective test, in terms of reliability, it's not it's pretty difficult since the answers are required by the students by the students ideas, by the students or the respondents own thought at the current moment. Then in terms of process, the process in designing uh, tasks of objective tasks is pretty difficult, and it's time consuming since they have to look at it carefully, analyzing and considering many things. While for the for the scoring process, it's pretty easy since the answers are obvious, and it's only certain answers are correct. Then for the for the process in subjective tasks, in terms of in a designing process, it's pretty easy, but in opposite, the the scoring process of it is pretty difficult since it involves students own thought or ideas, which mostly one to another are different. Then let's move on to the issues in objective tests. The first issues is that objective task looks easier. Well, yes, indeed, it look easier, but not all of them are easier. It depends on the teachers. It depends on the teachers in analyzing and selecting in constructing the the items, and they will also analyze the student performance in each items and also calculate the approximate degree of the difficulty. Then another issue is related to the encourage guessing for multiple choice. Hmm. Well, by giving 4 or 5 alternative or options, the students will found it difficult to answer it randomly. So that's by giving this 4 or 5 alternatives, it will avoid this kind of issues. Although if there is a student who wants to guess randomly, they will not guess it widely. Means that um, they will relate it their current knowledge that is closely related to the answers. Then the third issue is about the poorly written of the test, the objective test. Yes, these issues occurred because of several things. The first one is because the poorly written of the items itself in an objective test. Second, it's the emphasizing the irrelevant areas or irrelevant things that shouldn't be covered or emphasized. The third is it's about the neglections of communicative skills. Yeah, well, that's for sure because uh, this because the objective task is mostly used to seek students' knowledge about language, not the students' ability to use the language itself. However, as I said before, that one test to another test is having their own strength and weakness, so it will be better for the teachers to combine both of them, both using objective and subjective tests. Now let's move on to the next slide. Multiple choice items general. Yes, as we know that multiple choice is the most widely used objective items in objective tests. Well, that's true, but this kind of items actually time consuming and difficult to use. Yes, and those difficulty and this time consuming sometimes lead to the poorly development of the items. This test, yes, indeed, is not directly involved or seeking the student's ability in communicative about the student's communicative skills, but still it can be used to identify areas of difficulty toward the target language. Means it's related to the language, to knowledge about language. Now, before constructing any items, there are several things that must be considered. There are several things that must be paid attention. The first one is the designer should determine the actual areas to be covered and also the numbers of the items. Let's go to the next slide. Before constructing any items, yes, there are several things that should be paid attention before constructing any items. The first one is the task designer should determine the actual areas to be covered and also the numbers of the items in the test. Then, in terms of tests, durations and numbers, it must be long for reliable assessments and short for practicable administrations. It means that in one items, the length shouldn't be too long or shouldn't be too short. It's to get the reliable and practicable assessments. And then the number of items in a test will vary according to level of difficulty, areas being tested, and purpose of the test. Yes, just as the stage and as you saw in the slides, it's obviously it means what it means. And then regarding to the context of an items is the most important one, as well as the linguistic and the situational context of that items. Then next, What should be considered when constructing the items of multiple choice? Yes, the first one is should have only one answers. Hmm. What do you think about the example given related to the first considerations? Yes, that's not true. That's incorrect because this example have two correct answers. So should it will be better if one of them are decrease or omit, then replace it to another options which has a significantly different meaning. Then second is only one feature at a time. Yes, you are not allowed to use this kind of example. It's called impure tests, which attempt to not only seek students' knowledge about past perfect tense, but it also seeks students' knowledge in knowing the right order of the formula of the past perfect tense. And then the third, each option should be grammatically correct if put into the stem. Yes, you may look at the examples given. You may compare it why this one is correct and why this one is incorrect. Yeah, grammatically should be followed, should be correct if put into the stem. Then the fourth considerations is all the multiple choice items should be at the level of what being observed. So the options given uh, dealing with the stems provided shouldn't be higher and shouldn't be lesser to the proficiency levels of what targets being observed, being six or tested. And then the fifth considerations is should be as brief and clear as possible. Yes, it's to avoid students' confusions in doing and finishing the works, the task. And then the last, the sixth consideration is should be arranged starting from the simplest one to lead in the task takers. It will be clearer if I give you a short examples. So if you find a reading comprehension text in reading comprehensions, you will find five questions related to the text given in reading comprehension. The first questions is related to the topic, like what is the topic of the text about. Then second, related to the purpose. What is the communicative purpose of the text? And then uh, the third is talking about what is not true about the third paragraph. And then the fourth, it's talking about what can we what can we conclude in the text in a first in a second passage, for example. Then the last is talking about what is it true about the text given. Yeah, as you can see that the first and seconds looks easier than the others, than the third, fourth, and fifth. So this is the meaning of the easier or simpler to lead in test takers. Yes. So the first and second, the initials um, items of the task shouldn't be too difficult to lead in the test takers, but doesn't mean that this is significantly easier than the others.
Multiple choice itself has several forms. This picture portrays the three elements in multiple choice: the stem, the distractor, and the correct answer. I will guide you to understand each element deeply. The first is the stem. The stem is the section of multiple choice item which pose the problem that should be answered by the test takers. The primary purpose of the STEM is to present the problem clearly and concisely. The STEM should not contain extraneous information or irrelevant clue. Moreover, the STEM not only have to be short but also should convey enough information to indicate the basis on which the correct option should be selected. If you take a look to the picture, there are three forms of STEM. The first one is an incomplete statement. It requires students to fill in the gap by choosing one of the option, while a complete statement requires students to find out the synonym or the meaning of the italic word or the underlined word. Whilst a question is required students to answer the question by choosing one of the option. If there is a possibility that the option will have the same word or phrase, it should be better to the test takers to put that word or phrase in the stem. You can take a look to the picture. Also, the option in a multiple choice will be vary. It based on the context which are going to be tested. For instance, when comparison are involved in reading comprehension, there is no possible fourth option which can be added there. You can take a look to the example there. The second element of multiple choice is the correct. The correct answer is the best answer among other options or distractors. The test writer should only provide one correct answer to avoid the test taker confusion. It is not recommended for you to design the multiple choice like the picture, the example provided in the picture. But if that kind of thing happens, so the test writer, the writer or the corrector should classify this kind of multiple choice as true or false items. It means that if the test takers choose the true items, so the writer or the corrector can give uh, can add 1 point. But if the test taker choose the false item, the writer or the corrector can choose whether decrease 1 point or simply not give the score. The correct answer also should as long as other option or the structure. Why? It is to avoid giveaway item. What's giveaway item? It's like the example provided in the picture. So the correct answer is the longest word or phrase or sentence among other or among the structure. So it's like give the free correct answer to the test taker. The last element of multiple choice test is the distractors. The distractors are the alternative options which are incorrect. However, even though the distractors are incorrect, the distractor should be attractive and plausible. You can take a look to the example provided. The answer of the example is B. However, the other option or the distractors are seems like true also, right? So it is one of good example of multiple choice in terms of the distractor. Also, when placed on the stem, the distractor should grammatically correct. You can take a look to the example provided. The question on the stem in form of simple past. Also, the distractor or the option in form of simple past. So that's the example of good multiple choice. It is okay for this writer to give the plausible and attractive distractors. However, the test writer also should consider that the difficulty or the level of the proficiency of the distractor should assign as the correct answer. Why? To avoid the test taker confusion as well as to avoid giving the free answer, the free correct answer to the test takers. Also, the test writer should consider the use of capital letter in the distractors. Please take a look to the picture. If the blank space of the stem is in the middle, so the beginning of the word of the distractor should should not written by capital letter. However, if the blank space on the stem is in the beginning of the sentence, so the test writer should write the beginning of the word of the distractor by capital letter. Now, after knowing and comprehending each element of multiple choice, I will inform you several ways to score the response of multiple choice tests. There are 5 ways. The first way is write the correct answer on the blank space of the stem. You can take a look to the picture. The second way is write only the letter of the correct answer on the blank space of the stem, or you can also write in the spirit box there. See the picture. We provide the example clearly. The third way is put a tick or cross on the side of correct correct option in a spirit box. The fourth way is underlining the correct answer, and the last way is put a circle on the letter of the correct option. All examples are provided in the picture. After watching our explanation, now this is your turn, guys, to find the example of multiple choice test from the book that we use in our discussion in the previous meeting. Then please analyze whether the example that you choose good or not. If good, please give the reason. If not good, please state your argument and give your opinion. How should it be? If you have any question, freely to ask us. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.